folks. So the former head of ODPEM turned global disaster management expert, probably was that before he left Jamaica. Mr. Ronald Jackson has returned to Jamaica under United Nations assignment to lead recovery efforts after the hurricane. He sits with us this morning to discuss the details. Good to see you. Good to see you, Bridget.
Good to see you both. And it's good to be home, even on unfortunate circumstances, but always good to be home.
Just here for a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, yes.
Before we get specific, turn global expert. What does that mean?
It just means that I am now covering a global portfolio on the subject matter. As you know, I started here, then I went to Barbados, which gave me a regional remit. And now I'm operating at the global level with teams that are covering, all parts of the world. I have five teams in different regions who are providing the type of expertise, policy support, technical guidance, projects, programs covering the globe.
How did that happen? Did they reach out to you? Did you have to apply for this job?
It's interesting. I mean, I had 2 + 1 years left on my contract in Sedema. And I always start my exit strategy pretty early. And as fate would have it, people sent me, this advertisement to say, I think you would be good for this, you should apply. So it just happened by chance. I hesitated because I thought I still had work to do in the region. Last minute, literally last minute, a minute before midnight on the deadline day, I hit send and left it. This was in October. In January, I went on vacation, came back and saw an email inviting me for an interview. And that's just how it went.
You thought you had work left to do in the region. Turns out you're still helping the region from a better place.
I hope so.
It's kind of divine. How does it feel to be back in this capacity now, helping your own island home?
It's a bit bittersweet. You don't want to have to be, having to do this in your own homeland, but it is the nature of things, right? I mean, if you go far back into history, we've lived with this. It's what shapes us as a people and shapes the landscape we live on. But it is also, something that you feel that you are in a position to contribute something to your nation state. So again, bittersweet, plus and the minus of it.
Because you're now worldwide, you told me earlier that you did take a drive down to a couple of the affected areas. What you saw, have you ever seen anything like that before?
Yes, I have. It's a similar pattern. If you go as far as Philippines, I've gone to some of the typhoon impact. It's the same thing. We've seen it in the Caribbean. It underscores some of the things we know, that poverty, those who are poor are often the hardest hit. There are issues around land tenure, which impacts what people can do and are able to do. It's land use, land management. People are living where they shouldn't live. It is about standards. We see building standards. People living in substantial units that lost roofs, and it's the quality of the material, the design, the standards. And it also, I've heard statements, we need to build for Category 5. There are many houses that the roof stood still, did not move. Maybe 1 or 2 shingles, none of the sheetings moved. So we can build timber frame roofs for Category 5 hurricanes. Even modest homes, wooden homes. I took pictures, houses standing still, one beside it with the roof on, wooden house, and others without, right? Why did that stay still and why the others failed? So a bit of disaster forensic.
Do you have answers to those questions?
Yeah, it's standards. It's using hurricane straps. It's how you anchor the house to the base. It's the spacing of the timber
Engineering
framing.
101.
Exactly. So it's about doing the fundamentals and doing them well. But there's also the issue of again, it's linked to affordability. Some of the units are really old, and if you're not doing preventative maintenance, which is also part of one of the lessons from going into the field. Where we don't maintain, then you also have this problem. Right? So you put a good roof on, but you have to maintain it at a particular point in time, or else you're going to lose it down the line.
So your job now is to do what? You are here to?
So I'm on two assignments. One is to support our UNDP office here with rolling out a package which we've put together to jumpstart the recovery efforts. Recovery starts at day 0, and there's some early interventions that need to happen, like debris removal, which we're spinning up into a cash for work program for some of the people who are without livelihoods at the moment. And there are a number of other projects we will move through. We're looking also at a roof starter kit program, and that's going to come on stream hopefully pretty soon. But the other part of my remit is to try to support the resident coordinator of the UN, who represents the SG in country, with a system-wide coordinated response to the recovery efforts. So that's, my remit.
Which will include how we rebuild?
How we rebuild, one of the things we're trying to work on is not just a recovery plan, which outlines the priority sectors for intervention, but to marry that with a spatial plan as well, because we have to do some things differently. We just have to do some things differently. And I think the sentiment is there amongst the populace. We have to have a national alliance to change the path of our development, right? It's an opportunity to reset.
Yeah. This is attributed to you, and you've mentioned some of this before. You said the benchmarks for reconstruction mean changing how Jamaica conceives and invests in resilience. Resilience is not just about an individual, it's a system. Explain that, please.
Well, we often look at the people, and we as Jamaicans, we strive through everything, we survive things, and we bounce back and we keep going. But it's not about just the people. We have to put institutional systems, mechanisms in place that buttress an individual, right? When one section fails, the other fails over and takes up the pressures on one system. So it's a system response that is required, not just an individual, right? If you're looking at it at the community level, it's not just one individual in the community, it's the entire community. That then goes into the municipality and so forth and so on. And then the national mechanism needs to also be there to buttress
an ecosystem.
That. Yeah? It's an ecosystem.
You can't do
Resilience came from the ecosystem.
Right.
When one part of an ecosystem had a shock, other parts of the ecosystem took up the load and sustained that ecosystem. And similarly, we need to react in the same way.
So Ronald, based on what you've seen, and within the context of everything you've outlined, when do you see us starting to turn the corner on this?
Well, look, it's not going to be a short run. We have to bear that in mind. It's a long-term effort. We have to take the first step. We need to have a 0 to 6 months plan that is dealing with all of the immediate interventions that are required and setting the groundwork for the medium to long term. There are lots of things that will have to happen if we are serious about changing the fortunes of those who have been impacted. And it's not just the half of the island that was impacted. We have to also look at the next half of the island. Because had it come through its original path, I fear that we would be seeing something worse than what we've seen now in terms of the losses. Absolutely. Before you had rains in Kingston, right? I saw the news. I keep in touch a little bit in terms of what's going on here, and you had significant flooding in the streets of Kingston. We still have informal settlements along the banks of many of those major drainage ways, the infrastructure. So it could have been significantly worse. So it will require, again, national unity. Every member in the society will have to pull behind the country taking a new path and looking at where we need to identify no-build zones and to ensure that those are gazetted and are maintained as no-build zones, and where we look at different forms of housing solutions. It's not going to be easy because it's also going to be acquiring land. There are issues around titling. There is the people who we now need to convince that they need to move. It's not simple. They're culturally connected to some of the places they've been for 20 years, 30 years. So there's a lot of negotiations and engagement that has to take place, but we shouldn't be daunted by that. We should lean into that and to try to move forward to a different opportunity. Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you both.
And thanks for your help, my friend. Thanks
always. This is home.
Thanks for your service.
Wherever I go, this is home. So.
Really appreciate it. Your time.
Oh, sorry. Head of Disaster Risk Reduction and Recovery Crisis Bureau with the UNDP, Ronald Jackson. Take a break here. He Said, She Said is up next.